So I'm going to talk about a little bit of it's a different way of looking at your programming and your progression, progressive overload, everything like that. So I think a lot of people think very short term. They think about a single workout, right? So, let's just say, this is your squat day, okay? And you squat 275 for 3. So next week you want to squat 280 for 3. Or let's say you squat 275 for 3. And next week you want to squat 275 for 4, right? Okay. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm not bashing this idea here, but I'm going to give you kind of an alternative way of looking at things. So coming off of my injury, I had this, well, I'm not even sure that's actually anything to do with my injury, because now they're telling me I have demyelination in my spine. So maybe I just have a demyelinating disease. Regardless, I didn't want to go heavy. I purposely was avoiding going heavy. I didn't want to max out. And so I just put a cap on myself. And I said, I'm not going to squat anything over 225 until this back pain, subsides, because I can squat 225 without pain. So that's the weight that I'm going to stick with. Now, it's not that I can't squat more than that, right? I'm talking front squats here. I can front squat 335, 345, but man, my back always hurts afterwards. It was like, what's the sense of going heavy, even 315, 275, whatever, if it makes my back hurt afterwards? But yet, for some odd reason, I could do a ton of volume with anything below 225, and my back wouldn't give me any issues at all. So I started thinking about my programming in a different perspective here. And, how do you progressively overload whenever it's 225 all the time, right? You have to lift heavy weights at some point, which is true. So I'm not recommending you do this long term, but I'm sharing this because I did it and I feel like it worked. I started looking at my training in terms of the whole month. Now, instead of saying to myself, each week I'm going to try to do, 225 for 10 sets of 3 or something, I just started accumulating reps just every day. Like, today I'm going to squat 225, and I'm going to do maybe a few sets of 3, see how that feels. If it starts to feel like my back doesn't like it, then I'm going to switch to, doubles. And sometimes I would switch to singles, which, I don't need a lot of recovery here. So, I could basically be doing on the minute, just doing singles over and over and over again. It's weird how my back was giving me these issues. It's almost like the longer I held it for, that was a bigger issue than the number of reps I did. So like there were days where I did like 20 singles with 225 because my back just didn't want to do doubles that day. And I realized that this is weird, right? Supposedly I have a demyelinating disease, so, presumably you don't, but that doesn't mean you couldn't have an injury. And it doesn't mean you can't apply this concept still. You don't have to have a problem with your back to apply this concept. So what I started doing was I just started keeping track of how many squats I was doing per week. How many singles am I hitting? How many doubles am I hitting? How many triples am I hitting? And then I would just add those reps up. So, just a few months ago, I squatted 225 for like 300 reps roughly. I think it was like 303 or something like that. 303 reps in a month with 225. A few months later, I'm squatting 450 reps of 225. That's still progressive overload if you think about it. Like, I realize that we're not going like bodybuilder style, where it's like, well, I did it for 8 and now I do it for 10, now I do it for 12. I didn't put any hard rules on it because I never know how my back is going to feel on any given day. So, there were days where I squatted 225 for 5 singles and I was like, yeah, my back's not doing it today. So I just move on to the next thing. But then there were days where my back's feeling good and I'm doing sets of 4 because it's not giving me an issue that day. In any case, the point is that I just started adding up the reps. Just the total reps, whatever it was. It doesn't matter if, one of the days I did triples and another day I did doubles, and another day I did singles, and another day I did 4s, and whatever it is. But the point is that my top weight, right, I told myself I'm not going to go past 225 because I don't want to strain my back any more than, whatever's already going on in it. And I've had, gosh, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 MRIs now of my spine, and you know, that's obviously degenerating, whatever is going on, this demyelination thing. So, you know, I'm trying to be cautious and smart. I want to continue training, but I don't want to do anything that aggravates it. And that's an important part to this, is that I don't do things that hurt. So when it hurts, I just stop and move on to the next thing, right? So my back starts flaring up and I'm like, yep, that's all the more squats we're doing for today. And I just move on to like trap bar deadlifts or power cleans or some other movement. Because it's definitely something about loading. I don't know what it is, but, you know, I can deadlift all day and it doesn't piss my back off. But putting a barbell on my back or, you know, racking it across the front rack, that's what triggers my back. And this video is not really supposed to be about my back, but I'm just clarifying the circumstances here so you can understand why I would do this weird thing where I just start calculating my total reps for every month. And the point being that, you know, just a few months ago, I did like 303 reps across the whole month with 225, and now I'm doing 450 in a month. And, you know, I'll probably continue progressing this. Now, what has changed is that now it seems that I took a page out of Brian Carroll. So, you know, once every 10 days, I do go heavier. I feel like that's smart for me, which means that only like maybe twice a month do I go heavy. But I spend a lot of time doing tons of reps with lighter weights. There are days where I don't even make 225 because my back just isn't having it. So, you know, I might just come in and do a whole bunch of triples with, you know, 185 or something. It's not like a hard rule here. I'm very flexible in my program. It's, you're going to squat today, and I just squat to whatever I feel like I can squat without pain, and then I just accumulate volume there. That's all I've been doing. It's the same thing for everything else I do, whether it's, you know, behind the neck presses or trap bar deadlifts or power cleans or whatever. I work up to a weight that I can do without pain, and then I just accumulate volume. Is this the best possible program? Probably not. I'm sure that you would agree that it's best if you can push the weight. You know, I would rather be doing power cleans with, you know, 235 instead of doing power cleans with 185. But, you know, if 225 hurts, then guess what? We're sticking with 185 today, and that's all the further I'm going to push it, because I don't want to piss my back off and then, you know, lose 3 or 4 days of training because I'm waiting for my back to calm down. So this is just a way of me training around whatever I'm dealing with, which I still don't know exactly what I'm dealing with. I'm headed to Mayo Clinic for some very specific testing that apparently they can't do here because I'm in Duluth. So I was told even by my endocrinologist that apparently Mayo has a whole bunch of dynamic testing. Don't know even what that fucking means. But they can do dynamic testing to try to figure out what type of demyelinating disease it is. I don't know. I'm just doing what the doctors tell me to do because I don't know what to do else. But anyways, the point being with training, yeah. So you don't have to just sit here and think about your training just day to day or week to week. You could look at it across the whole month and be like, hey, you know, this month I did X number of reps with X amount of weight. And then you just kind of figure out that, hey, am I getting more total reps in from one month to the next? That's still going to be overload. You're just accumulating volume. So if you think about it that way, it's still a progression. You know, if last month you were able to do, say, you know, 225 and you got 100 reps in total, and then this month you do 120 reps, you have made progress. You got more volume in at the same load, regardless of how you break it up. I keep trying to tell people that. I don't know why people are so obsessed with these sets of 5 or sets of 8, or, you know, magical things happen, right? 3 to 5 is for strength, but, you know, if you do 8 to 12, it's hypertrophy. And somehow that weird gap of 6s and 7s just does nothing at all. You don't gain strength or hypertrophy, right? Like these magical rep ranges, which is just the dumbest fucking concept ever. So if you squat 405 for 8, and then, you know, you're still going to be building some strength there. If you squat 405 for 12, you're still building some strength there. It's not like this is just hypertrophy and you're not going to get stronger. And the same thing's true if you're doing sets of 5 and you're doing, you know, 495 for a set of 5. You're going to have some hypertrophy there too. I don't know why people act like these things have like a hard break. Like, oh, well, you did 6, so that's not really strength anymore. It's ridiculous. Don't let people sell you on magical rep ranges. That's bullshit. Anyone that's ever done 20 rep breathing squats will tell you there's nothing magical about 8 to 12. So anyways, point being, start thinking about things from a bigger perspective. You know, how many total reps are you getting in per month instead of just thinking about your total reps per workout? And it really might change the way that you think about your programming. I think that this is a very interesting little experiment that I kind of stumbled into myself. I never thought about it this way, but now that I'm doing it, I'm like, wow, you know, I mean, to put an extra 150 reps in, that's a lot more volume. And it's definitely, like, I feel so much stronger. Every time I come in and I squat, it just feels like I'm hitting a groove and it just moves easier. So, you know, that's just something for you to think about. Like I said, this is just a different perspective. You don't have to do it this way. This isn't like I'm saying this is better than, you know, like Wendler 531 or something. I'm not saying this is better than linear progression where you actually increase the weight each week. I'm just saying this is an alternative. This is one more way that you can do it.